Let's talk about wine. Now, I've jokingly said that my favorite food groups are coffee and wine, and left to my own devices, I would probably end up drinking more coffee and wine and basically like limiting how much I ate of food. But I don't do that, and here's why. Let's go to coffee before we go to wine. I'm the fortunate fast caffeine metabolizer, so I can actually metabolize caffeine very well, but even so, I like to shut it off at noon. You might be someone who has to shut it off at 9 a.m. Depends on how quickly you metabolize it. If you are not sure, I would start by shutting it off at 9, and then you can play around and watch your Oura Ring to see how you do. Now let's talk wine. If you are drinking wine, in the perfect world, you'd be better off having a glass in the afternoon or with lunch. Now I'll tell you, going to Europe, I've never understood how they do that. I have a glass of wine at lunch and I want a nap, but maybe I think they do take afternoon naps. Maybe that's why. But let's say you want a glass of wine with dinner. I think the important thing is you just said with dinner and not before bed, which would be very problematic in terms of getting that great 12 to 14 hour fast. A glass of wine at bedtime is not only going to interrupt that fasting time, but it's also going to interrupt your sleep. And I think what we have to do with wine is really have a serious look at how it impacts your sleep. If you are drinking wine, I'm going to shout out to my buddies over at Dry Farm Wine. So shout out to Todd and David, because this is lower alcohol wine, so it won't have as big of an impact. But let's be honest about the wine situation. I used to always say, get it for the resveratrol. Well, you'd have to have like bottles of wine to get enough resveratrol. So that ship sunk, sadly. If you want to drink wine, keep it to a glass, monitor your Oura Ring, and see how you do. I have been doing very little wine, I will tell you, because I noticed such a massive change in my Oura Ring. So I might be having 1 or 2 glasses a month versus 1 or 2 glasses a day. So I think this is where what you measure and monitor, you can improve. And if you are going to check this out on your Oura Ring, the first thing I would tell you to do is get off of wine for at least a week, kind of give yourself a clean reset. And longer is better. There's a reason people do dry Januaries and sober Octobers, and then go in and check it out. Sort of like the virgin diet, where you do an elimination diet, you pull all the foods out, the dairy, the gluten, the corn, the eggs, the soy, the peanuts, the sugar, and artificial sweeteners. You leave them out for at least 3 weeks, and then you go back one by one and see how you feel. I would say to do the same thing with alcohol and see how you feel, because I think what you're going to find is that it can really, really mess up your sleep. And that can then trigger this whole host of issues like insulin resistance, more hunger, poor energy, difficulty putting on muscle, and it just may not be worth it. I want to empower you with your aging. That means I want you to age powerfully. And so how do you do that? Well, first thing you need to do is subscribe to the channel and like this video, and then check out the next video in the series.